Hello, and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent McCory from the Voice of America in Washington, D.C.
Thanks. I'm Vincent McCory at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Joke Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
The Zamfara state government in northwest Nigeria says it's improving education infrastructure, which is crucial to enhancing the enrollment of out-of-school children. The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Wadatau Madawaki, stated this while inspecting some schools undergoing renovation and reconstruction in Gusau, the state capital.
Dilapidated school buildings, inadequate facilities have long been a barrier to learning, contributing to low enrollment rates, poor academic performance, and overall educational inequality in Zamfara State.
I declare a state of emergency on education in Zamfara State.
A reason why the government declared a state of emergency on education shortly after assuming responsibilities for the affairs of the state, a move it believes will show its strong commitment towards improving the quality of education by addressing the challenges facing the sector.
The neglected education system in Zamfara affects all levels from primary to tertiary institutions with poor learning environment and personnel. My government will give the education sector the much needed overhaul owing to virtual collapse of this sector.
The state's education emergency will see 325 schools upgraded as against the 250 proposed earlier as the government. The state government says it has spent over 12 billion naira as it continues to improve educational infrastructure and create a conducive learning environment for students.
In line with the pronouncement of the executive governor of Zamfara State, Drought, when he declared an emergency in the area of education, the government is very serious about education, and that was why when the initial effort to ensure total rehabilitation, renovation of schools in the state in order to ensure the delivery of quality education.
A good learning environment has a way of creating positive learning outcomes for both the teachers.
I'm one of the happiest teachers by seeing the schools has been renovated and being supplied with school materials.
I'm happy that Governor Drought already has renovated our school. Before now, we used to sit on the ground to receive lessons, but now we sit comfortably and we are happy.
Other issues affecting the education sector is banditry, with the government claiming that successes have been recorded in the fight, with promises that safety of schools will receive the highest of priorities.
So to speak more on the education infrastructure in Zamfara State is the Commissioner for Education, Wadatau Madawaki. A pleasure having you today.
I'm glad to be joining you this very good morning.
Right. So Zamfara State Governor Drought declared a state of emergency on the education sector in the state shortly after assuming office. What prompted this action?
What prompted that action was what he saw on ground, that there was decayed infrastructure. All the infrastructure, especially in the education sector, was decayed. You cannot go to a school and see a very good building. You cannot see furniture. All these things were not available.
Be that as it may, let's move right into it. The government commenced the rehabilitation and reconstruction of over 300 schools across the state. What's the update on this?
When we came in, we look at the situation across the 40 local government areas of the state. Because of this decay in infrastructure, the first phase of the developmental stages in education was to look at 325 schools that some new constructions are taking place in terms of classrooms, building of toilets, building of laboratories, and building of workshops. And the other ones reconstruction or rehabilitation of dilapidated classrooms, dilapidated laboratories, and dilapidated toilets for students, especially the girl child. So basically, we started with 325 schools that are being renovated. As of now, I can comfortably say 90% of the construction as well as the rehabilitation has been attained.
Right, and so the present administration has 4 years to carry out, this, huge task, and the yearly budgets are going to be used for this work. So, what percentages, of the budgets is the government looking to, pump into ensuring that the infrastructure is in place and out-of-school children, especially, are taken care of?
Security is the major thrust of the government to ensure that these schools are safe for children to be able to go into them and learn. If you follow up the history of what is happening in Zamfara State, insecurity has become a nightmare, like I've said earlier. But now the budget of the year 2024 has been mostly dedicated to providing adequate security for everybody in the state. Then followed by education, which has about, in the budget of about 426 billion naira. Education has about 51 billion naira that is dedicated to it for this time. And our belief is that by the time security is provided, education will take leap, and then it will take over the position of #1 smart agenda, because the people have to be, educated for them to ensure that there is development across the state. So basically, there are areas to be considered: the issue of instructional materials, the issue of learning equipment in the laboratories and the workshop. All these are what we are looking forward to providing as we continue to gain momentum in providing security in the state.
Right, and very quickly now, the issue of the Almajiri children as well. I do know that the state is trying to make a provision for them as well across the 3 senatorial zones. How many of them are, is the government looking to enroll in schools, when the schools are actually completed?
It is not a matter of enrollment, because the Almajiri children are already in the schools. These are schools that are being owned by the Malams, and the government is trying to intervene into the school to ensure that elements of Western education, are provided so that the children will earn, a living. You see, when you look at the Almajiri school, it is a matter of, when you go, Islamic education is what is being taught. That is the Quran, the Hadith, the Fiqh, and other elements of the Islamic religion. But what we are saying that we are trying to bring in this Almajiri into one place, because when you go to the Almajiri schools, you find that they don't have any accommodation. They move from one house to the other. Some sleep on the street, and that's not good, and it will not go well for development in our state. So what we are saying is we are providing, these schools so that there will be accommodation for the children. Then there will be centers for skills acquisition that are being introduced, so that at the end of the day, while they are learning the Islamic education, they are also learning skills. They are acquiring skills that will help them to live in the society. Skills such as carpentry or woodwork, tailoring, masonry, cobblery, and some basic knowledge of computer appreciation are things that we are trying to put in place, so that these children will not be roaming about begging for alms or for food, but that they will be able to engage themselves positively while they are learning, or when they graduate from the Islamic schools, instead of them roaming about the street, they have something to do that will earn a living.
Right. Thank you so much, Commissioner for Education, Zamfara State, Badata Madawaki. Thank you for joining us today on Africa 54.
Thank you.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, aimed to delay development in adolescent girls, the harmful practice of breast ironing affects millions of women across Africa. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. A harmful practice called breast ironing or flattening affects about 3.8 million women in Africa, including some parts of Nigeria. The practice aims to delay development in adolescent girls. Gibson Emeka has the story, narrated by Salim Solomon.
Patience Williams was only 10 when she was subjected to a practice called breast ironing. Worried that she would attract attention from men, her mother pressed a hot object over her breasts to stall growth.
Actually, it's painful because immediately she's done, I used to feel my body is hurting me.
A decade later, Williams is calling for an end to the painful practice. Victoria Williams, who had also endured breast ironing, says she regrets putting her daughter through such an ordeal.
And they did it for me, it works. But when I give birth to my own, I try it, it didn't work. The remaining two girls, I think I didn't do anything to them. But all I'm doing is that I used to draw them close to me, make them my friends. Anything they have, anything is bothering them, they will tell me.
While it's hard to determine how many women are impacted by the practice in Nigeria, about 3.8 million women across Africa are affected by breast ironing, according to the Africa Health Organization and International Health Agency. Choma Agwobu, a Nigerian gender rights activist, describes the harmful nature of the practice and how it violates basic rights.
Imagine somebody heating up a stone and depressing a part of your body because they don't want that part of your body to grow. Nobody has the right to determine the rate of growth of any other person's body.
Nigeria classifies breast ironing as criminal offense, as it does the practices of female genital mutilation and forced marriage. The country's Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015 specifically penalizes offenders who commit, quote, harmful traditional practices, end quote, with more than a 4-year jail term or a fine of up to $559 or 500,000 naira or both. However, despite the law's provisions, there is no known record in Nigeria of perpetrators facing punishment. Justice Dokulu, a political leader in Jokwe village, says his community is committed to working with the government to stop breast ironing.
But in some certain places like here, people still do it. For my community leaders are people who listen to governments, but they are doing their best to see that it will come to an end.
The practice can cause not only tissue damage but also trauma. Other side effects include malformation, delay in breast milk production, and infection. Activists like Agwobu and survivors like Williams say legislation isn't enough, and they're trying to raise awareness in communities where breast ironing is still accepted by spreading the word through the media and urging community leaders to condemn the painful practice. For Gibson Emeka in Abuja, Nigeria, Salam Solomon, VOA News.
The youths of Benin City, the Edo State capital in South Nigeria, have been encouraged to explore business opportunities in talents they possess. Some young women who took to shoemaking in Edo State said skill acquisition is key to reducing unemployment.
Blessing and Olivia share a surname as their sisters. They also have something else in common, a passion for shoemaking. This shop around Ugbo Road in the Edo State capital, Benin City, belongs to Olivia. She's older, but Blessing, who found this path at a younger age, trains to become a shoemaker and subsequently taught her older sister how to make shoes upon her graduation from a polytechnic.
I studied computer science, so I decided to learn the work because I like the work.
Other young women have been introduced to the business. One of these two is currently an apprentice here. The other, Peace, has graduated after learning for a little over 1 year. Between the sisters, more shoemakers, they say, have been trained in the about 4 years they've been in the business. Blessing believes focus is a key requirement for anyone interested in learning.
I knew what I was looking for, what I want, so I was focused.
It's another business day, and here at Peace's shop, far from Olivia's, more designs are on display.
I've been using cartoon to make palm, to use it to play around with other children, until one day I stepped on a nail and my mom scolded me for that.
Yet in another part of the city is Uzezi with her young trainees. Her love for shoemaking trumped her passion for football over 10 years ago. And these works, among the many she's produced, assure her it was a decision wisely made.
I was into football at the same time into this shoemaking. I was an apprentice then, So along the line, you have to choose one. You can't pursue the both at the same time.
She has seen other young women overcome their family's concern about the opportunities in shoemaking.
Some of them will come with their parents. So when they come, they just find it interesting, nothing else but to, okay, I concur to what my daughter said.
Seeing their finished work on clients' feet, the realization that they've empowered other young men and women, and ability to meet their personal needs from the business bring them satisfaction. Jessica Olugusera, Channels Television News.
Last year, Somali farmers faced the dual threats of drought and flooding. Jamal Ahmed Osman spoke with farmers who shared their experiences of how extreme climate conditions are taking a toll in this report narrated by VOA's Arash Arabasadi.
Here in Kalundi village in the Middle Shabelle region, about 90 kilometers north of Somalia's capital Mogadishu, farmer Ismail Hassan is among many who say they felt the impact of climate change.
You may not break even due to weather changes. When ready to cultivate, you might lack water for the seeds due to drought, or excess water can break riverbanks during rain seasons, posing a challenge.
Another farmer, Mude Osman, now displaced in Jowar district, says too much and too little water have forced him to leave his farm twice.
Our harvest is affected by climate change, facing floods and droughts each year. When water submerges, we must relocate. The same occurs during the drought season.
Jowar district farmer Jamalo Ahmed Safar also says the drought has impacted farming in this area.
For the past 4 years, we've endured persistent droughts, and each time we sow our crops, the river runs dry.
Heavy rains and floods affected more than 1.2 million people late last year, according to the United Nations, following years of drought that caused near-famine conditions. Activists like Abdul Kadir Abba Noor say climate extremes are causing food scarcity in the country.
In Somalia, we need real change and action to address climate change issues which affected the whole country, especially for the farmers and for all other sectors.
Farmers and climate activists like Abba Noor worry about long-term decreases in food production and the impacts on the country as climate extremes become more common. For Jamal Osman in Mogadishu, Somalia, Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
Egypt's Al-Azhar Mosque has hosted an iftar event for 5,000 Muslims, including many international students, as the holy month of Ramadan continues. The mosque is also celebrating its 1084th anniversary. Located in the historic Cairo area, Al-Azhar is one of the city's oldest and main mosques in Egypt.
Al-Azhar Mosque in Cairo hosts a daily free banquet for thousands of international students at Azhar University who are observing the holy month Ramadan away from their families in other Muslim countries. About 5,000 people participate in the iftar event, even as the mosque also celebrates its 1084th anniversary.
This collective iftar is held for our international students who belong to more than 100 countries around the world. Al-Azhar Sharif is keen to host the banquet for them every year, and this is the third year in a row. We started this banquet 2 years ago, and we're in the third year.
For many of the foreign students, the banquet provides care and attention to alleviate the pain of homesickness. The students pray in the mosque yard while volunteers distribute iftar meals. Volunteer Ahmed Radwan helps distribute free iftar meals.
We distribute between 5,000 and 7,500 meals a year, and this is throughout the month of Ramadan. For 3 years, we have been distributing continuously every day, delivering meal carts, juice, and water daily.
The Ramadan tradition involved Muslims gathering to break their fast together after sunset. Al-Azhar University hosts students from 120 countries across the globe, 5,000 of whom break their daily fast at the Azhar Ramadan banquet, totaling around 150,000 free meals throughout the month. The huge mosque and university teaches Islamic sciences and receives thousands of foreign students from across Asia and Africa.
The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development ranks Africa as the region with the lowest amount of e-commerce investment. UNCTAD says e-commerce is currently accessible to very few urban areas, particularly because of a lack of an effective address system and a small percentage of the population having access to bank accounts. An AI solution, however, aims to broaden the market by connecting small-scale businesses to more people. Senanu Todd reports from Accra, Ghana.
Dorman Foods is a Ghanaian catering business inspired by a traditional delicacy called the bullfruit. By garnishing these homemade donuts with customized toppings, they say they help people celebrate life and love.
We want to help people celebrate birthdays, special occasions, anniversaries, I miss you days, I love you days, any day, any of life's moments that you want to celebrate.
After 8 years of operation, Dorman Foods has more than 100,000 clients across the Ghanaian capital, most of whom depend on delivery services to surprise their loved ones. But most of its customers lack formal street addresses, a common problem across the African continent. Some also lack bank accounts, which complicates payments. Kofiga says these problems used to hamper his business, especially during occasions such as Valentine's Day in 2017.
And we only had 2 phones, and we had to serve, say, a customer base of about 200 orders. And here's different people sending you text messages, people calling, and they were all calling to place their orders on Valentine's Day on just a single day, right? And so we're able to process some orders. We missed out some details of setting some orders. It was very hectic.
Since then, Kofiga has started using an artificial intelligence tool called Chatbot Africa from Accra-based company Notify.
The chatbot is able to take the order, it's able to remember all the details, and then it's able to also give them the payment link. They confirm they receive the payment. The chatbot is able to confirm the payment and then tell us that this customer has paid, this customer has not paid, this customer wants to pay cash on delivery. All those details are taken care of, and it's very seamless.
Clients can use this AI tool to place orders and make payment through local payment systems like mobile money and share locations for delivery. The AI in turn translates this into a simple SMS to the business and delivery merchants. Kofiga says business is up 25% thanks to Chatbot Africa. Notify CEO Ronald Tego says the tool is easy for small-scale businesses to set up.
We have the web portal where, without having any IT skills, just go create an account and you connect that to a phone number which is connected on WhatsApp or to your Instagram page or your Facebook page, and upload your products. Then once you are done, it's the end.
Tego is developing more AI tools to bridge the e-commerce gap, including voice recognition for those who cannot read and write.
So imagine a seller on the market who doesn't read and write. They are still able to sell their tomatoes and vegetables to other customers who also do not read and write, all with the power of voice.
E-commerce experts say the introduction of AI into the market will help improve sales and reduce poverty, particularly for marginalized communities on the continent. Sena Anutod, VOA News, Accra.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Do remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.